Good morning, everyone. We do have a special session that we're going to be doing this morning. It's 8:30 a.m. and I'm now calling the meeting to order. Roll call, District 1.
District 1, Patrice Horseman, and Vice Chair of the Board. Happy to be here. And it's a strange day for us. It's Monday. Looking forward to a board retreat this afternoon. So welcome, everyone.
District 2.
Good morning, everyone. Geronimo Vasquez, Supervisor, District 2. Thank you.
District 3.
Good morning, Adam Hess, District 3.
District 4. I'm here. District 5. Okay, we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's all stand up.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now be calling to the public. We will now have call to the public to allow for any comments from the public. Please note that issues presented during the call to the public that are not on the agenda cannot be acted on by the Board of Supervisors for items not on the agenda. Individual supervisors may ask questions of the public but are prohibited by open meeting law from discussing or considering the item. Only the speaker who has been called upon is authorized to speak. To encourage and respect expression of all views, we ask that there are no disruptions. If you have comments that are related to the public hearing items on the agenda, please wait to comment until we get to that item and open the public hearing. Individuals are limited to 3 minutes only for their comments. Clerk Daly will explain how the public can provide comments at this time.
Thank you, Chair Begay. At this time, if there's anyone here in the room that would like to provide a public comment, you can come up to the podium. We also have comment cards on the table by the door. If you'd like to fill out a comment card and provide that to me, we can also call you then at that time. If you've joined us virtually, you can hit the raise hand icon that will appear if you hover towards the bottom of your screen. It looks like a hand. If you hit that, that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. If you've joined us by telephone, you can hit *9 and that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. I do have somebody on the Zoom platform with their hand up. Please note, once we unmute you, if you can please state your name and address for our minutes. We will start the clock for 3 minutes, and then once 3 minutes is up, your microphone will be muted. And
Yes,
I do have somebody with the @end.
Yep. Hello, my name is Luke McKee. You need my address. It was in the Board of Supervisors meeting 27 minutes in last Wednesday week regarding the Coconino County Judicial Nominations Commission, flawed by design and in practice as an undemocratic entity by charter. Members of the press and concerned citizens may contact me by calling 928-714-7117. On October the 22nd in this chamber for Native History Month, Jennifer Yazzie addressed us. She works at the Coconino County's Attorney General's office. I think it was previously located with the sheriffs at 911 East Sawmill Road. 2 weeks ago, I emailed her correspondence, including FOI and witness testimony, CC this board, regarding the sadistic torture of American Navajo Indians, including one in particular, Beatrice Fowler in Unit 8206 in the Coconino County Detention Facility. Also, according to FOI, the air conditioner was turned off for no fault from January the 29th to the July the 11th in summer in the mostly Indian-occupied unit of A200. Whilst the lesbian attorney general of this fine state was electioneering on the issue of slumlords not providing air conditioning to their Arizonan tenants. So if the county stands with her that people are entitled to live in, a modicum of comfort here, but not sweating for weeks on end, I asked the Board of Supervisors to instruct the air conditioning to be turned off for a week at the sheriff's and the Coconino County Attorney's Office for a week next year for atonement, to prove that you don't just virtue signal here and you mean your support for the Native American community. So I also sent her witness testimony that Beatrice Fowler was denied water for more than 3 days and was forced to drink from the toilet bowl for medical reasons, in double quotes. Coconino County HHS and the Records Department for the Sheriff are refusing to acknowledge a records request for the video of this torture and abuse that is prohibited by Article 46 of the Geneva Conventions of Prisoners of War, who are mandated to get better treatment, i.e. water, than inmates in this county. This might explain the history of Aboriginal deaths in custody in your jail facility. There was a history. Jennifer Yazzie didn't seem to care enough about her fellow Indians to reply to me, and I think I found the reason why. Her relative, Ernessa Yazzie, and previously Robin Begay, maybe a relative of the chair, worked for Victim Witness Services of Northern Arizona, an NGO that runs a quasi-legal proceedings accountable nobody to hand out victims checks to those who get a permission slip, in this case from Sedona Police, who sign inmates into your jail on sheriff's letterhead, as seen on my Twitter, as anonymous volunteers, because the staff involved are not qualified to do inmate transfer. And I put that up on my Twitter before the mainstream news 3 days ago cited claims against the Sedona.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. That's 3 minutes. If there's anyone else here in the room that would like to provide public comment during this public comment portion of the meeting, you can make your way up to the podium now. All right. And if there's anyone else by Zoom, you can hit the raise hand icon that will appear if you hover towards the bottom of your screen. And Chair Begay, that's all of the comment hands we have.
Go ahead, Supervisor Horseman.
Just a point of clarification, Yazzie, Begay, Benali is a very common name up on tribal lands and now in the Navajo Nation. And I find it unbelievably inappropriate for comments that were made related to that.
Yeah, I also would like to say something as a board chair. I have no knowledge of this person name that you named as a last name. So thank you so much. Okay, moving forward, we are now at the consent agenda. All matters under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by a single motion. Are there any items that the board members wish to consider separately? Supervisor Horseman?
At this point, unless anybody else wants to remove something and to move us along, I would make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented and set forth in our agenda.
I'll second.
Motions were made by Supervisor Horseman, second by Supervisor Hess. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries. We will now be going to as a Flood Control District Board of Directors. May I have a motion to resolve as the Flood Control District Board of Directors?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Hess and seconded by Supervisor Fowler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are now at the Flood Control District Action Item number 6. Is Lucinda on?
I am
Okay.
on.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Good morning. I believe this item, I just realized that I didn't have that in front of me. Sorry, I had to pull the different paper. We are this morning, I believe this is the CMAR approval is the first item. Is that correct? I'm sorry.
Lucinda, it's the Flood Control District Resolution 2024-05.
Okay.
It's the
Okay.
IGA.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay. I looked at something. I got myself confused. I apologize, board. Good morning. This morning, I'm very excited to present to the board an opportunity. We've been working very closely with the town of Tucson on developing a drainage master plan and identifying a set of projects that could go forward in the future to reduce flood impacts to Tucson area. As you're aware, given the event that we had in August of 23, there was a major flood event there, which frankly was validating in terms of the flood modeling that we had historically, and demonstrated that the town is at risk. The town and Highway 64 are at serious risk for significant flooding. In a 100-year rainfall event, we could see up to or in excess of 10,000 CFS of flood water, which is comparable to the Grand Canyon, Colorado River at Lee's Ferry. So significant potential impact, and the town was proactive. They applied for a grant through the Arizona Department of Transportation to the State Transportation Board for an Arizona Smart Grant, and we're successful in securing that grant. It's about 2.4 million. And we've been working, the town, the district, and ADOT to bring this agreement forward that will allow the town to secure that funding and move forward with this project. It includes a development of a drainage master plan for the greater Tucson area, Coconino Wash area, as well as engineer's concept report and construction plans. And so again, we're really excited to move this forward. We have this item, and then the next item. This item is the actual IGA between the three parties, ADOT, the district, the town. The next item is an IGA between the town and the district, for the district to support the town with both project management and grant administration for this grant. So again, we're very excited to move this forward, and this will be important to reducing the flood impacts, not only to Tucson, but to Highway 64, which we all know is a major gateway to the Grand Canyon, over 5 million visitors a year. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Lucinda. Supervisor Horstman?
Yes, thanks. And thanks, Lucinda. And I just want to let the board know that county, primarily through the flood control district, and Lucinda, as well as myself, have been working very diligently with Mayor Vale and that Tucson Town Council, who have been extremely proactive on this, especially since our modeling and, of course, unfortunately, the flood, which verified our modeling. As we all know, because many of us have also been advocating for 180 and 89, Highway 64 is also a essential state route. It is the primary way for the entrance into the south entrance to Grand Canyon National Park, which is not only one of the natural wonders of the world, but it brings over 6 million visitors up here to northern Arizona and to the Grand Canyon, and is essential for our economic health and our outdoor and tourist industry. So I am so pleased to see this, as well as the other 2 IGAs, which I know we have worked very diligently on, especially you, Lucinda, making sure all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed for this. So pleased to see this being brought forward, and certainly hope that they get that Arizona Smart Grant.
Thank you. Any other supervisor want to make a comment? There being none, may I have a motion?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I think
you.
this has been long coming. I remember when the flood came and we were all kind of surprised. So anyway, it's good that years later we're at the state. So this is very good. Thank you.
We all had to get our rafts out, but it was amazing. It looked like the Colorado River through downtown Tucson. At this point, Madam Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
it'd be my pleasure to approve the Flood Control District Resolution 2024-05, approving a 3-way intergovernmental agreement between Coconino County Flood Control District, the town of Tucson, and the state of Arizona Department of Transportation to administer the Arizona Smart Grant awarded to the town of Tucson in the amount of $2,391,500. The district, through its IGA and with the town of Tucson, will provide project management and project administrative services for the completion of the Tucson Drainage Master Plan project. As noted in the agenda, there is no fiscal impact to the district.
Thank you. There is a motion. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Fowler. Oh, Director Fowler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number seven.
If I may.
Lucinda?
Yes, and this is the complementary IGA between the town and the district that then will allow the district to support the town with both project management and grant administration. And the town has agreed graciously to provide reimbursement for our project management costs relative to that. We appreciate that. I also would like to note that I believe both Mayor Vale and Town Manager Hendricks are on the meeting, and perhaps after considering this item, it would be an opportunity to let them make comments.
Thank you, Lucinda. Supervisor
Thank you.
Director Horseman, please.
Supervisor Director. At this point, I'd like to approve Flood Control District Resolution 2024-06, approving an intergovernmental agreement between Coconino County Flood Control District and the town of Tucson to provide project management and grant administration services for the completion of the Tucson Drainage Master Plan project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Director Hess. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose? Motion carries. Okay, item number 8.
Do
Oh,
you want to go ahead and ask the mayor to address us?
oh, yeah, okay. At this time, we'll go ahead, Mayor Vale and Tom Hendricks, would you like to make a comment? Town Manager.
Yes, they're gonna turn their camera on right now.
Oh, hello? Hello?
Mayor Mayor Vale, we hear you now.
Oh, you do. Hello. Good morning, board. I just really want to give a huge thank you to Lucinda and all the Coconino County staff, and especially Patrice Horseman and the Board of Supervisors. And just thank you all so much for all of your work on this. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate having your expertise. It's been quite a process, and we just really want to thank you all so much.
Supervisor Horseman.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you for all of your leadership up there. You and Charlie have really made this happen. So this is a big congratulations to both of you.
To all of us. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the partnership.
Thank you, Lucinda.
Thank you. Lucinda, next item.
The next item is a construction manager at risk contract. This will be actually the final pipeline fire flood area contract that we will be entering into for construction. Yep. Yeah. Director Vasquez, we're getting there. We're very close to finalizing all these efforts. And this contract is to bring on Tiffany Construction to complete the storm drain system in the government tank flood corridor. And we're really excited to be jumping into this. I expect to be able to tell you, hopefully no later than Wednesday, that we've secured 2 of the key land rights agreements. And I should be hearing hopefully today that one is done, and we should have the other one by Wednesday, and be able, and we've been successful in securing most of the drainage easements. So we're ready to move forward with this effort. Very excited to do so. So This is for your consideration today to approve the contract. Thank you.
Any questions by the board?
Yeah, hello, Lucinda, good morning.
Good morning.
This is really exciting. Congratulations. Good work to you and your team, because I know it's been a long haul and there's still work to be done, but it's nice to finally be at this point several years later. And
Yep.
so good job. And I guess my only question is, once we do approve this, what's our timeline? Like, what are we looking at? Immediate and then long term?
Well, our goal remains to try to get this flood mitigation constructed in this quarter. As you are well aware, this has been a very complex situation. We've had a lot of challenges with securing the land rights, really more to do with dynamics relative to the ownership of those land rights that had to get resolved before we could then move forward. But that has taken place. And, like I said, I'm pretty confident at this stage that we'll have those two key land rights agreements this week, and we'll be able to move forward. And our goal is to have it constructed. So there are two significant projects in this corridor, one being the storm drain, and then the other being a detention basin. And I'll be back to you to talk about the detention basin hopefully no later than December 10th. So that's our goal. We may or may not make it. Weather could affect that. Other things could affect it. But that's our goal, is to try to be able to finish up by this monsoon season.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And if no one else has any comments, I would like to make the motion. Make the motion, we approve the contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion by Director Vasquez and second by Director Horseman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. May I have a motion to resolve as the Board of Supervisors?
Thank you.
So moved.
Okay, motions are made by Director Vasquez and second by Director Fowler. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. The next items are public hearing items.
Chair Begay will need to wait until 9 o'clock to start the public hearing because that's the time it was published for. are taking a short break until 9 o'clock to start our public hearing. So that's about 2 minutes. We'll reconvene. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good morning again. We are now on the public hearing items. Item number 9. We will have Director Eve Walters present at this time.
Good morning, Chair Begay, members of the board, County Manager's Office. Good to see you all this morning. So we have 3 exciting items to present to you today and a very short time to do it in. So first and foremost, I want to thank all of the members of the board for taking the time to meet with Michelle and I a couple of weeks ago to discuss these issues so that we can move through them fairly quickly. So today we're going to be in this first part of the presentation looking at a new ordinance 2024-08, which will address our unlicensed vendors. And second to that, ordinance 2024-09, which are amendments to the Unified Health Code chapters 1 and 2. So we'll talk through those briefly here. Next slide. So many of you have reported to us seeing vendors such as these, and we appreciate those reports. And today we are going to be asking for some assistance in being able to actually address those vendors. We've seen an increase in roadside vendors, roadside stands, vendors on sidewalks in our community starting over the summer, and they have continued even as we move into the colder temperatures. They've popped up outside of licensed facilities, which has caused several complaints from our business community, and they are not regulated by anyone locally or statewide. Unfortunately, many of the practices that they employ are unsanitary and unsafe for the public to consume. Biggest challenge with this is that when the public sees these vendors, they assume they are safe to eat. Because generally, in the US, we are fortunate enough to assume that our food and water is safe. However, that is no longer really the case. And almost all of our 15 communities have been impacted by these types of vendors. Next slide. So our new ordinance 2024-08 to address unlicensed vendors allows environmental health inspectors the ability to approach and have a series of actions that they can take while addressing these vendors. Ultimately, we seek to educate first and enforce second, but the ordinance does give us the flexibility to move directly to enforcement as the situation may need. It also allows the sheriff's office employees to deputies to assist us in this process and write citations on our behalf. Next slide. Ultimately, our goal, I should say, with that last ordinance, is that we get these vendors licensed. That's our first goal. And if we cannot, then we have the option to move towards enforcement. Second to that, while we were going through this process, we also started looking at our current unified health code. And we recognized that within there were opportunities to make some amendments and changes for current times. So 2024-09 amends chapters 1 and 2 of the Unified Health Code. Really, in chapter 1, it was just updating definitions. We've added the term for regulated establishments there so that we can refer to it and cross-combined with the previous new ordinance. Chapter 2, we have added a criminal track to that chapter. So currently, we only can follow civil processes, but there are times, and they are few and far between, that we need more immediate action or the ability to act immediately. And generally, that has to do with our licensed establishments that refuse to close when there is an imminent health hazard. As I said, this does not happen regularly, maybe once, maybe twice a year, but when it happens, we need the opportunity to be able to act, pull law enforcement in, and a citation be written. So there's an immediate effect to the improper action. Next slide. Okay, so the recommendation today, or the request of staff, is to consider and approve or adopt ordinance 2024-08 for unlicensed establishments, and also to adopt the ordinance 2024-09, which amends the Coconino County Health and Human Services Unified Health Code, chapters 1 and 2. So I'm going to pause for the board to consider these actions before we move to the final piece.
Supervisor Fowler. I'm sorry, Horseman.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this, and the materials you presented us, some of the educational materials you presented us. My question is, have you received calls from our community members about, number one, what are these? Are they safe? And number two, any health matters? I know the newspaper Arizona Republic back in the end of August talked about over 17 people who came down with gastrointestinal illnesses related to some of these unlicensed vendors. So I'm wondering, have we seen something similar to that here?
We have received calls from the public, and we also have received calls from businesses in the community complaining about these establishments. We have not received calls reporting illness at this time. Now, understand, only 17 people called in Maricopa County when there are hundreds more people eating at these establishments. The challenging thing with foodborne illness is people often think, oh, I just have a tummy bug. It's just a 24-hour virus. They never think that maybe what they're experiencing was a result of something they ate. So we often don't get foodborne illness reports for the number that are actually occurring. So the materials that you're looking at are some of the public education campaign that we are rolling forward, and as well as more press releases. And we're doing that across the county through the Navajo and Hopi Observer, all throughout the county. It's not just flag centric. Once people see it again and are reminded again, then we may start receiving more calls.
Supervisor Horseman.
Yes, and the other question I have, I think it is an educational matter. I really do. And I think you're also right. I think people, when they see it, assume that it has met all the permitting and inspections that we as a community expect from our food providers. And so it is an education and educational outreach. And of course, those those food providers that go through the permitting process and the inspection process, they get a little certificate. And can you explain that? And because one of the things I think is important is it needs to be really, really, really visible, and a really a fluorescent color of some signs, some area to really stand out. So in our educational outreach, we can explain to the public, look for this sign.
Right. So all of our establishments that are licensed must have either a license to operate. If it's a mobile unit, they have a red sticker and you'll see it. We've put it into the educational materials. It is also supposed to go with the press releases that show the image of what a license looks like and also the red sticker. It is bright. It has the year that it's in effect for. And on a mobile unit, it should be displayed in a window or on the truck or on the cart somewhere that it's visible for the inspector and for the public. Did that answer the question?
Supervisor Fowler?
Oh.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing this to us and looking at the ordinance. A lot of these vendors we see in District 2, and so it's a concern because I hear people saying, oh, that food was great, and they have no clue about the public hazard and the health risks that they're taking by consuming this meat or these fruits without hand washing stations, and some of those are other things that have been observed. And so my question is, how is the county going to help those vendors that do want to learn how to do it right? How are we going to help them get there? So that way we can distinguish between those that choose not to do it the right way and where we do have to go and enforce these ordinances. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Supervisor Vasquez. So we are educators first, as I said, and enforcers second. Really, education is the beginning of everything. We do have materials that we can give to these folks. We are very hands-on. So we are walking up to these vendors and having a conversation. And it really is a conversation, asking the questions. Possibly they didn't know that they need a license to operate within our county. We have the option in the ordinance to walk them through a 3-step process, which would involve walk up, education, ask to see their license. They don't have it. So we're giving them information and giving them a warning. Second time we see them, walking up, this time applying a sticker to their cart to notice the public that this is an unsafe vendor to eat from. And again, walking them through the process. And by the third time, then moving towards the citation with law enforcement assistance. But there are steps we can take. We're always open to take phone calls or have people visit us in the building as well.
And with that, when you do have that first citation and you kind of educate them, how much time do they have to get their permission or whatnot to be legit? Because if we leave it to just the next time you see them, they could just bounce around and try to avoid you. So how do we ensure that they are registered, or we know that they've followed up with what they're supposed to do?
It notices a violation or cease and desist orders have a 24-hour. So they have 24 hours to have some kind of contact with us. If we go out the next day and we see them, we start moving along that process.
And then after the second time, if it goes from the second to the third time, is that another 24-hour, or is that immediate? Like you could follow up within 30 minutes if you see it, you leave and then you get a report that they're serving again.
The second one, it could be within the same day. If we've told them to shut down, close their business, and we come back 30 minutes later and they're still there, or they've moved down the block or to a different block, it could be immediate. Because now that we've talked to them twice already and educated twice.
Supervisor Fowler?
Yeah, this is, and this is not just in Flagstaff. This is across our county, across northern Arizona. So how do we reach the broader out there communities? We have done a session, and we're due for some more meetings that are coming up. And I think it's really important that we get this out. Last night, I sent 2 pictures. There were 2 set up last night. One by the Crown Restaurant, and that one looked like it was legitimate because it had big old sign, like a sponsor sign,
Right.
from a towing company. And then
Yeah.
there was one on 4th Street, and there were a lot of people going in and out of there. Yeah, so yeah, and people think that they're good to buy from. So
That's the biggest piece. And I think if the board approves these ordinances today, our intent is to start enforcing tonight. So really addressing this as early as tonight, tomorrow night, Thanksgiving, not necessarily, but yes, we'll be starting on this right away. And as we receive complaints or notifications from the public of where they are, because they're not always stationary, they do tend to move around. Now, the folks that have been setting up on 4th and 66 and over by the Crown haven't been bothered yet. So they're happy to keep setting up in a same location. But as we are out there after hours and on weekends, and people start knowing that they wait until business hours have closed before they set up, many of them. So when we're out there in the evenings and on the weekends, the word will start to get out. That's our hope. And they will probably move around first, and then hopefully they will leave our community. These vendors in particular, the ones that you sent pictures of, we call them the string light vendors because they have these beautiful string lights up over their canopy. It draws people in. They are not from our community. They're coming in from other places. And so if not, we hope to move them out. If the weather doesn't, then we hope to move them out of our community.
But how do you warn that it's not just our community in Northern Arizona, it's elsewhere?
Yes, it's all of our counties. It's a statewide issue. In fact, it's not even just an Arizona issue. It's a California, Nevada. They've moved into New Mexico now. So they have found a business model that works. And they're exploiting that throughout our communities. I would hope that if we're educating in our community, if I were to travel to Phoenix and I see the same thing, that I would remember, I probably shouldn't eat there. That looks very familiar to what was in Coconino.
Is there anything in our paperwork that we give out to the community for education that states these are statewide, health guidances or something? Because sometimes people don't, if you don't explicitly say that, they don't put 2 and 2 together. And so they could say, oh, that's here in Coconino County, or that's here in Flagstaff. But I go to Phoenix and, well, who knows? Is it the same? So maybe if there can be something stated on there that just says, please know that this applies to all of Arizona, or something to that effect.
That's a wonderful suggestion. It currently is not on there, but we can certainly add that. Thank you.
And to have the media do stories on it.
Yes, and we have seen some come out of the southern part of the state, which have included Coconino in their press releases. We are going to be reissuing now. After today, we'll be reissuing press releases as well, and can certainly make a comment in there as well about this is a statewide issue.
Supervisor Horstman?
Yeah, I have a question, then a couple comments just end with. But first, my question is, explain the enforcement process.
With this ordinance, the new
Yes,
enforcement process?
the third strike
step?
and they're out.
Okay, so what that would look like is much like the other two. We would walk up and ask to see a valid license to operate. When the operator is unable to produce that, after we have gathered more information about the establishment, we have the option to contact the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office has agreed to assist us throughout Coconino County. So it doesn't fall to local municipal law enforcement. And they have all been notified as well. So thank you to the sheriff's office for taking that step for us. A deputy would arrive. The inspector would inform the deputy of that the business is unlicensed, which is not lawful. The deputy would be the one to write the appropriate code on the citation and deliver it to the operator. So now that follows the criminal process. They would have to appear in court, post ticket. There would be a charge associated with that ticket as well.
So what happens, and this is what my concern is. Okay, so the sheriff comes, they provide the citation. It's a criminal citation. By the time are they going to be moved off the street?
Yes.
Okay.
So they will need to shut down, pack up, and move their operation.
And if in fact they do and move right down the street and open up again, then what happens?
They can be issued a second citation.
Okay.
Yeah. If we see the same people, so if we're out tonight, Monday night, we approach with the sheriff's office tonight, Tuesday night, we go out, we see the same people, they can be issued a citation again.
And then if I can make a couple comments, just, and I know I've already explained this to both of you, so I'm just going to tell these folks as well. This is a true health and safety risk for our community across the county. And it isn't getting better. Because as you say, they found this is a lucrative business model. And it not only affects the health and safety of our community, it affects our legitimate businesses that we're requiring to get the permit, we're requiring to get the inspection, that are paying that extra attention and money in order to provide good food products to our community. When you have one person and one contact with that person and say, here's the information, here's what you need to do, I do not know why you're going by for a second time. In my opinion, and this is a health and safety risk that needs to be addressed immediately. So I don't like the 3 strikes, you're out. I think one is educational and the second should be enforcement. That's my comment.
Thank you, Supervisor Horstman. And the way that the ordinance is written, it allows staff to move, to bypass steps 1 and 2 and move directly to enforcement based on the situation. So with our string light vendors, our meat vendors, we will be moving likely to step 3. We're not doing necessarily all the education. They've been around, they know, they've come from other parts in the state. It is case by case. And the ordinance gives us the flexibility if we think that folks could be brought into compliance.
And I appreciate that. But quite frankly, I don't think they need a second bite at the education apple. They know after, no pun intended, they know after the first time. So, and that's why, and by the way, every time you all go out there, because some of these people can be aggressive and obnoxious, and they put you and your staff at risk. And I don't know if any of you have gone through police training or sheriff's training or anything like that. And I don't like seeing our staff who are enforcing a ordinance, which should be a health and safety administrative ordinance, end up becoming police or sheriff's officers, because you aren't.
Absolutely.
So that's why I like one-time education, second time you're out. And if I understand, it allows for case by case, but if you got the 3 strikes, you're out, that's what people are going to do.
Right.
And I really don't think you need to do that. Those are my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Eve. I just want to say that, we really need to put something in place, and education is the key. And then also these pamphlets, I'm not sure if after this, you're going to be sharing all of this with them, the vendors. And then also, I think some board members here have already asked, to have education, at various functions within or what that the board attends or communities attend. I just wanted to ask about how many of those vendors are actually here in Flagstaff.
That's a great question, and one that I probably can't answer with any accuracy. Part of the reason is that they move around. Sorry about that. They move frequently, so it's really hard to get a pulse on how many are new and how many have just moved and put new people there. The people are not even the same all the time, which is why we really wanted to have that ability to address them on the first time that we see them, because they're moving around all the time. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are there any more comments by the board? Go ahead, Supervisor Hess.
Yeah, this is concerning. And everyone's brought that up, and I just want to say, it's a supply and demand. We really need to educate the people that are eating here. They're really putting their family at risk. That meat being delivered up here, and God knows how, most likely not refrigerated, and then questionably served, and everything else is going on. You really, the people of Coconino County need to know you're putting your family at risk and yourself at risk. And that is the scariest part to me. It's a supply and demand. Quit using these people that are not healthy and are going to be dangerous, and utilize the people that are following the rules and are following the safety guidelines that we all live here. And as you said at the very beginning, that's one of the things we all expect. So people out there, listen, supply and demand, quit using it, and they'll go away and start using the people that are safe and take care of your families. That's all I can say is we gotta be smart.
Thank you, Supervisor Hess. And we do have many licensed mobile food units in our community with good, safe food. So there are other options.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Okay, so let's say we have a really stubborn food vendor who refuses to stop serving. You stop them, they go somewhere else, they go multiple times. At what point is it that you're taking them in because they're just not following the law?
Other communities, including Pima County, have used a final step, which we have not talked about with the board, which involves seizure of not only the food, but also their equipment. So Pima initially did do a seizure of food, which we do have the authority to do, and we could take that step. We could seize and throw away the food on site. If we wanted to move towards something more stringent, it would require a warrant that we would need to get from a judge that would allow us to seize not only the food, but also their trucks, their tables, their spit. And that is a step that we could look at, certainly if we're having no success otherwise.
Well, I'd recommend that we go ahead and go as proposed, but if we see that people are abusing that second time, then we probably need to accelerate things a little bit, make step 3, step 2, and make the seizure of food and equipment step 3. But let's see how it goes first.
And certainly in a situation like was brought up, what if we shut them down, we issue a citation, they just pick up and they move down the street and they set up again? We could already right now seize the food at that point. It's just we can't take their truck and their table and their spit without a warrant. Angela, did I get that correct?
Supervisor Fowler?
So we want to, thank you, ma'am. So, I think it's really important to alert all of our, I think what we have access to, we can send word out to all our cities and towns, let them know, because they hold their markets, as well as, we have access to others. We could put a message in mailings that go out. I think it's so important to, especially, we don't want any kind of health outbreaks of any kind. And so it's really important for us to get this out, and people need to understand to all our communities. I think that's going to be the key to get this out. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler. Supervisor Vasquez?
Is the team planning on doing mailers to the whole county about the new ordinance or some of that information? And if not, I'd be willing to put some CI funds towards doing so, because I think that's important. We can't, Supervisor Fowler is correct. If we want the community to know, we have to get it to everybody so they know as well, because some of these folks that are using this food, they just don't realize that it's unsafe for them. And so we need to be explicit, not implicit. So I recommend that there be a mailer countywide, and I would be willing to put in CI funds to support it.
Okay, thank you for that suggestion. Just going to ask Melissa, when does the quarterly Coconino Connect go out? Okay. Okay. So what we know is that we all have short-term memories. We just do. It's part of our makeup. So we will have to do more than one of these. And I think there's a delicate balance between making sure the public is aware, but they haven't become blind to it because they see it too much. So I think if we're able to do, with the support of the board, something now and then again in this, in the spring, and kind of keep it before people without overwhelming them with it, that would be great.
Angela? Did you have your hand up? Okay. Supervisor Vasquez?
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Horstman.
And just kind of following up on what you said, please, anything you all have in terms of social media, let's make sure Melissa's part of it. Let's make sure it's in our county, on our county website, should be on the landing page of the county website. As, of course, I know it will be for HHS's website. But also then, you know, the cute little notifications you come up with to gather people's attention. Make sure it gets to us, the board, so we can include it in our social media posts as well. Thank you.
Any more comments by the board? Kim, would you like? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted, and certainly if there's other comments by the board, but before you move to take action on this item, I just wanted to make a quick comment. First of all, I want to really appreciate HHS, Eve and Michelle and the entire environmental health team for all the work that's been done. I want to especially thank Angela with County Attorney's Office. This was kind of a quick, I mean, there's been talk about this, but this became very urgent in a really short fashion, a short time. And I know it put a lot of strain on Angela as well as staff. And also I want to put a huge shout out to the Sheriff's Department and especially to Sheriff-elect Axelin and for their willingness to partner with HHS to do this enforcement, to be able to make this uniform around the county so that it didn't put an additional burden on staff to be reaching out to each municipality. So thank you so much. I just wanted to say that before you take action on all the work. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for all the hard work you guys put in there and being, working on this ordinance. It means a lot, and we're here. It's what we're here for, is to ensure the safety and for our constituents. And so with that, this is a public hearing, so the public hearing is now open. We will now take comments. When you are called to speak, announce your name and place of residence. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Please make sure that your comments are directed to the topic. Clerk Daly will please explain how those are here in person and those present virtually can provide public comments.
Thank you, Chair Begay. At this time, if there's anyone here in the room that would like to provide comment during this public hearing item, you can make your way up to the podium and we'll provide 3 minutes for you to speak. If you've joined by Zoom, you can hit the raise hand icon that will appear if you hover towards the bottom of your screen. It looks like a hand. You click on that, that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. If you've joined by telephone, you can hit *9 and that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. And at this time, Chair Begay, we do not have any comment cards or hands raised.
Just give it another minute. Since there are no comments virtually or if in person, I am now closing the public hearing. Supervisors, are there any questions, comments regarding the item? Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes, thank you. Again, thank you, team, for bringing us together and bringing us forward to us. It's actually long overdue, even though this only started since the summer. So, but it's important that we address it now. We address the public health of our community. And so thank you for all the hard work. And with that said, I would like to vote for action or propose that we approve the adoption of ordinance 2024-08, providing the regulation and prohibition of unlicensed establishments, and ordinance 2024-09, amending the Unified Health Code chapters 1 and 2 for consistency with ordinance 2024-08, put forward by the Coconino County Health and Human Services Health District Environmental Health Program.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Supervisor Vasquez, second by Supervisor Horstman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, motion carries.
Let me make a comment here at the end.
Go ahead, Supervisor Horstman.
You know, we would really like to hear how this enforcement is working. And so if you would give us a report back. Also, I want to make sure that the HHS workers that are going out there to do the educational outreach, I want to make sure they're safe. I want to make sure that they are not being abused. So I'd like to hear what the reaction of the public is for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for your awareness,
Supervisor
I will be
Fowler?
going out with staff myself just to make sure that
One more
things are as they
comment.
should be.
One more comment, Supervisor Fowler.
And where you're finding them? Like if they're in the Page area or Tucson, please let us know so we can help you get the word out. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler.
Okay, thank you so much. And item number 10. You may proceed.
Just making a quick note so I don't forget. Okay, so this is our third and final ordinance for today. And it is an amendment to our current ordinance that we do have. This is ordinance 2024-10, dogs, dangerous dogs, and vicious dogs at large. So next slide. This ordinance has been in effect since 2007. It's been a very long time, but it only had really two definitions within it: dog at large and vicious dog at large. And the definitions were not practical in application or didn't cover the full gamut of the things that we see out there. So amending this ordinance really gave us the opportunity to update those definitions and bring them more in alignment with what we see in the community. The biggest thing to note here is that dangerous dog involves an act that affects either an animal, a wild animal, or a human, and is a misdemeanor. And vicious dog at large really only specifies an interaction between a dog and a human being, and that is a felony. So we have cleaned up the definitions as well as the enforcement actions associated with each of those categories. Next slide. And this was pretty simple compared to the last one. So before I ask the board for your possible adoption of ordinance 2024-10 to amend the dog, dangerous dog, and vicious dog at large ordinance, are there any questions?
Supervisor Horstman.
You know, I think that combining the definitions to make it very clear what you're trying to do and having one form of the enforcement makes a whole lot of sense. Probably made sense a long time ago, but you know, we all learn from doing. And so I appreciate you bringing this back. I read it to my dog. He appreciates you bringing this back as well. So thank you.
Hopefully it was comprehensive and he understood. So good. Thank you, Supervisor Horstman.
I have never seen his teeth like that. So
Any by the board? Supervisor Vasquez.
Yeah, once again, as we're going through our ordinances, just seeing ways to improve them and make them more streamlined. I think, you know, having a third category is important. It allows flexibility for county officials to determine what actually happened, because from some of what staff have told me in the past, there have been situations where they were forced to use the more dangerous term when it might not have applied. And then vice versa. There are times when it should have been worse than what it was in terms of the liability for the owner. And so I think this is important just to help clarify different situations and provide that support. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez.
Thank you. Any other comments by the board? We will go ahead and proceed to open the public hearing at this time. The public hearing is open. We will now take comments. When you are called on to speak, announce your name and place of residence. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Please make sure that your comments are directed to the topic. Clerk Daly, please explain how those here in person and those present virtually can provide public comments.
Thank you, Chair Begay. At this time, if there's anyone that would like to provide a comment on this hearing item, you can come up to the podium to speak, or you can fill out a comment card, which is on the table by the door. If you've joined us virtually by Zoom, you can hit the raise hand icon that will appear if you hover towards the bottom of your screen. It looks like a hand. If you click on that, that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. If you've joined by telephone, you can hit *9 and that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. And at this time, Chair Begay, there are no hands raised and no comment cards.
Again. Since there are no comments, I am now closing the public hearing. Supervisors, are there any more questions or comments regarding the item? Supervisor Horstman?
I'd make a motion at this point, unless there are comments from other board members. At this point, then I would move to approve ordinance 2024-10, approving the amendment to ordinance 2007-03, providing for the regulation and prohibition of dogs, dangerous dogs, and vicious dogs running at large.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Vasquez. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is now adjourned at 9:40.
You're getting it done today.